Hello everybody. So I want to show everybody real quick what the slower method, or probably the more period method for skeletonizing your leaf is, which is simply letting it sit in water. I'm not going to go on for too long in this video because, there's really not much else to it. The only thing that you really have to pay attention to whenever you're doing this method is that it does require a lot of maintenance. Because you see some little baby leaves here, but I actually had another one of these larger sycamore leaves here onto the other side, and it started to go bad. And by that I mean they're like little mold spots, and it just wasn't taking this process very well, so I had to discard it. And you want to make sure that you keep an eye on these, because if you see that starting to present in any of the other leaves, you want to get it out. You've heard that old saying, one apple spoiling the bunch. That can happen with these. So if you see a leaf that's getting contaminated by something, you want to remove it as soon as you possibly can. Now, what I personally do for this is, you may not be able to see right now, I have this on a light box so that way you can kind of see how cool this transparency is. It's very potent. If I turn it off, you still can't really see much of it. I can notice it because I've been watching this like a newborn. But I tend to only brush it after the water's gotten a significant green tint to it, because that means that the chlorophyll has had time to really work its way out. Let's see if I can get this back on here. But this is actually, so like I said, this is a few weeks old, but I'm going to go ahead. I checked it the other day, but I'm going to see if I can't work some of this out here. This might be a little tricky. Might have to use my pinky here. There we go. You can see these little lines I'm making here. Let me get in here real good. Now, this is, I have to say, a much better method than doing it chemically. The leaf is much sturdier, and if you notice, when I was taking the residue off of the other leaf, the tender kind of veiny layer here that's on the bottom that's translucent on this leaf still had like a greenish tint on the other one, and I think that was actually because of the chemicals that we used. They tend to give a yellowish kind of greenish tint, and I also think that that's just a part of the disadvantage to that other process. So with this, you're getting a much cleaner leaf. Now mind you, the part here that's translucent, after it dries, it unfortunately isn't going to stay that way. It's not going to be completely clear. It will have a bit of a tint to it. But this is going to give you a much more attractive leaf, and because we're not putting it or subjecting it to all that heat and chemicals, it's going to be a much sturdier leaf. So I'm a lot more confident that this one is going to turn out really well. If you do choose to use the faster method by using chemicals, I might actually suggest using a combined method. Maybe if you choose to boil the leaf with the sodium carbonate, maybe do it for less time and then use this method to kind of finish it off. Will it still take a while? Yes, but it won't maybe take as long as this process where I'm not using anything. But again, if you've got the time and the patience, I think that doing it the slow method by simply just letting it sit in water and keeping an eye on it periodically is the best way to go. And before I jump off here, I'll give you one more peek just so you can kind of see what I mean. See if I can get you a good spot here. It really is tricky to do this like this with a camera, but hey, you can kind of see here. I don't know how obvious it is. Let me see if I can find a greener spot. Oh yeah, I can get a lot done on this tonight. That color's really lifting off of there. Uh-oh, got a little, I think I got a little tear there. That's okay. That's one of the advantages to doing this on a light box, that you're able to see the area a little bit better. But I am going to hop off here for now and get to work on this leaf. Good morning, everybody. I just wanted to do a final update on the skeleton leaf that was processed just with water. So I finished taking the pigment off of the leaf last night. And when I say finished, I mean there's still some pigment on there, you'll see in just a bit, but I didn't feel comfortable processing it any further because I feared damaging it. So I have this wooden charger plate here. This is normally something decorative, like you would put another plate on top of this. But I dried the leaf out on this. What I did to prevent damaging the leaf was I took a piece of tracing paper. This is not that, but I took a piece of tracing paper, slid it under the leaf while it was still submerged in the water, lifted that paper up, set it down here on this plate, and smoothed it out. You want to have a nice flat surface to dry it on. If you put it on something that's slightly curved or whatever, the leaf is going to dry that way and you're possibly going to damage it. So by having it dry here, it's nice and flat. Also, by drying it on a wooden surface like this, the wood actually helps absorb some of the moisture and helps it dry out faster. So I've had it gently, I didn't put a lot of weight on it, just gently pressing on my Bristol pad last night. So I'm going to flip this up here and do a reveal. Just a second, let me get this notebook open here. Alrighty. Actually, I'm going to move it. Put my notebook. Move it aside here. And I'll take a quick look at it. I'll zoom in here. Isn't that awesome? Look at that texture. Are you kidding me? And yes, it does have, especially here, unfortunately, a lot of that residual chlorophyll that was just too tough. It did not want to come off of there. And I don't know if you can see, there are unfortunately some little cracks here and there where I was processing it. And that was just kind of unavoidable because the sycamore leaf is just a much too tender type of leaf to go through this process. Like I said, the craft was originally meant to be used on Bodhi leaves. If you wanted something a little more traditional in our area, I'm from Southern Region 1 in Elthamark, which is West Virginia. So we had rhododendrons, and rhododendron leaves are very fibrous, very thick. I imagine a rhododendron leaf would stand up to this process very, very well. But sycamore leaves are very fragile, so that's just an unfortunate consequence of deciding to process a sycamore, is that this is as good as it's going to get. Now, your mileage may vary. You may practice this a little bit more than me, and you may find you get lucky with a particular leaf and you're able to get it completely clean. But I'm really happy with this because the previous leaves that I tried to process chemically, they didn't come out anywhere near as nice and solid as this. Now, one important thing to note, the reason that this dried so well is partly because of the way I dried it. If you were to try drying this on, let's say, a ceramic plate, once the moisture comes out of this leaf, it almost kind of adheres to whatever surface it's on. So if this were, let's say you dry this on like a porcelain plate, it's not coming off of there. I mean, it will, you know, if you take something to clean the plate with, but it will totally destroy the leaf. It's just not coming off of there. But by drying it on this thin tissue-like tracing paper, it allowed me to separate it, because this is literally where it dried last night. I just had it sitting right here. And because, like I said, the wood was able to absorb some moisture, air was able to get under here, it dried very nicely, and I was able to separate it by just totally lifting it off here. I don't know. Now, the wood is porous. Maybe it would have lifted off the wood, but I doubt it. I think that drying it on like wax paper, tissue, maybe not tissue paper, but tracing paper, parchment paper that's used in cooking, something like that is going to be your best solution for trying to dry it. So I'm going to turn the light on my light box on real quick so you can really get in there and look at those beautiful little details. Look at those little veins. The little cells that used to hold chlorophyll that now are totally devoid of anything. It's fascinating. As you can see, I used a spare piece that I had already done rubbing on because I really don't like wasting paper. Oh my god, I love it. I'm so happy. I don't think this could have turned out any nicer. And I've got some obligations coming up, so I was getting a little worried because I had read in some places that this process can take months. And I imagine it could with an actual Bodhi leaf or something like a rhododendron leaf because it's so much tougher. But thankfully, you know, because of my schedule, I needed this to be done a little faster, and it was because sycamore leaf didn't take as long to process. I think I only had this submerged in water for maybe 2 weeks. And if you're consistently processing it, and by that I mean you're changing the water out every day, you're testing it with your brush, you know, you're going in once a day and very gently kind of testing to see if the color's lifting off of there, it's going to process even more quickly. So what I'm going to do now that I have this leaf here is I'm going to coat it. I don't know if that would be a period technique, but because I am being a little anachronistic here and I'm using a leaf that wouldn't have normally been used and it's so fragile, I'm just not going to be confident putting it on a scroll yet until I feel like it is a little stronger. And also because I have these little micro tears in it and things like that. So I'm probably going to get some kind of adhesive or some kind of matte sealant to go over this leaf just to seal everything in. And it's going to be a very fine layer because I don't want to lose all this beautiful texture. Oh my gosh, I just can't get over it. It's almost looking at like a dragonfly's wing, isn't it? So get my camera zoomed here. Oh my gosh, so beautiful. Like a little tiny glass stained window. So once I get that sealed and allow the sealant or whatever I'm clear coating it to dry, then I'm going to do like I did with the paper leaf method. I'm going to take an X-Acto blade, very carefully cut that off of there, and I'll have my leaf. And then later I'll show you, once we've gone through all the different methods for our leaves, I'll show you how we're going to apply it to our scroll.